This evening, I'm Bob Mullen. I'm the PR and Marketing Director for the City of Dunwoody. And this is the city's third official town hall. There was one that was held early on, and we had one last year. And this is the first one of 2015 for us. And today we have with us our two presenters will be Mike Davis, Mayor of Dunwoody, of course, and Eric Linton, our City Manager of Dunwoody. Earlier we had asked about some topics, which we'll show in a minute. We collected topics from you, the citizens, who had shared some ideas and topics that you wanted to discuss. And we have those for you tonight. But first I'd like to say thank you for being here at Georgia Perimeter College. And just to say a word of thanks, I'd like to introduce Matthew Robinson, who's the Dean of Students here at Georgia Perimeter College, to say a few words. Matthew?
Thank you, Bob, so much. And Mr. Mayor, local officials, we are so happy that GPC Dunwoody campus, the best of the GPC campuses, I think, little ha-ha, no matter which campus. We're so happy that you are here with us tonight to be hosting this town hall meeting. On behalf of our president, President Rob Watts, and the entire GPC family, we want to welcome you to campus. We hope that you come back often. We consider here at Dunwoody, as chair of the leadership team, we consider GPC Dunwoody at the heart of the Dunwoody, city of Dunwoody, and we want to be a part of, not apart from, the city of Dunwoody. So anything that Georgia Perimeter College Dunwoody campus can do to work with the city of Dunwoody, the residents, we consider you good friends. Hopefully we will be interacting often. So on behalf of the entire campus community, welcome to Georgia Perimeter College Dunwoody campus, and I hope you have a very productive evening. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Bob. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Matthew. I'd like to recognize our council members here who are in attendance this evening. Councilwoman Lynn Deutsch, Councilman Doug Thompson, Councilman Denny Shortle, there we are, and of course Councilman Terry Knoll. Well, I'll go over a little bit of the sort of agenda here for this evening. What we did, as I mentioned, we have a number of topics that you have submitted in for discussion. We'll try to spend enough time on each topic, but we have about 10 topics, so that's probably a good 10 or 12 minutes on each topic, and then go into the next one. If we have some time at the end, we'll have a general Q&A. But as we're discussing the topics, we'll hear an introduction on the topic from Mayor and our City Manager, and then ask if there are any specific questions. And if you have a specific question on that topic, please raise your hand and we'll take one of the microphones and we'll come up to you and have you be able to address Mayor and City Manager and ask that question. We'll go through some questions, we'll hit that topic, and then we'll move on to the next one. If that sounds simple enough for everyone to understand, we'll probably just jump right into it. With a general introduction, I'd like to give Mayor Davis and Eric, our City Manager, a moment to just say hello and welcome and say a few words of introduction to you.
Let's see, does this work? I guess it does. Okay. This is the mic check. Well, welcome everybody. Thank you for coming. As you know, my name is Mike Davis. Wow. Really? Really? That was gas. Is that fixed now, Bob?
I think
okay.
So. I hope so.
I don't know what that was. Anyhow, I wanted to just give you the chance to learn what's going on in the city. As you know,
I turned mine off. So that may be better. Yeah, that.
You hear that? Yeah. Okay. My voice carries pretty long for me now, so anyhow, the whole point today, we started this last year, was the town hall meetings where we, the first one of the year is done by the city manager and the mayor, and then as you know, we have 3 districts within our city and 2 district representatives, 2 of our city council people represent each one of the districts. So we will be going around throughout the rest of the year, going each district, trying to get a little more focused on that part of town, but certainly we're only 12 square miles, so it's not just that part of town or this part of town. It's really the whole city. Anyhow, my name is Mike Davis. fabulous. I've been the mayor now for 3.5 years. Time flies when you're having fun. It's been quite an experience. As I told Eric when I hired him, being mayor of the city of Dunwoody really wasn't on my bucket list. It was one of those things that came up at the right time, and I was at the right point in my life to be able to do it, and it was a real honor to do, and I was thrilled to be elected. It's been 3.5 years now. I'll let Eric kind of talk about himself in a minute, but we were really thrilled to get someone of Eric Linton's caliber. He was the county manager over in Douglas County, and had been there for a number of years. And I think Douglas County pretty much figured they had him for the rest of his career. And we snuck in and stole him. And he's just an outstanding individual. I think you'll really grow to like him. We on the committee that selected the city managers and interviewed, I think we started with about 85 resumes, did a large group of interviews, and Eric was head and shoulders the best guy out there, and he accepted the opportunity to come here. So, Eric, why don't you give a little description of what you...
Sure. Thank you for the kind words. I appreciate that. That's nice. I'm Eric Linton. I'm your city manager. And the local guy, as the mayor was saying, I grew up in just inside 285, now part of Brookhaven. Went to Chamberlain High School, graduated from there, and went on to Georgia Tech after that, and earned a bachelor's degree and a master's degree. From there, I got my start in planning and zoning for the city of Gainesville, Georgia. Worked there a number of years, and then went out to Douglas County, served as the county manager, as well as community development director before that. So I've got a pretty deep history with in local government, and I'm glad to be here in Dunwoody. There's a lot of good things going on in Dunwoody, and I'm glad to be part of it. I do want to take this opportunity real quick to let the staff introduce themselves. We have a number of staff members here, and Chief Brogan, we'll start over with you. If you'll stand up, the staff will stand up and introduce themselves real quick. Chief Brogan. Andrew.
Michael Charlie, Director of Economic Development. Steve Wood, Community Development. David Elliott, Stormwater Manager.
Thanks, guys. That's pretty good.
We have a great staff. Not having spent my career in government, I think a lot of us who aren't in government tend to think all the things we've heard on the radio and TV over the years, that government people they work in government because they can't get a real job. The reality is, these are extraordinarily good people, and it's not just the people that came to this meeting, but our entire staff. I can't say enough good things about them. They are business-minded. They treat people the way they expect to be treated. They, whether you call with a complaint about having gotten a ticket, or you want to do a build-out of your house and want to find out what permits you need, I got to say, I think your experience in dealing with Dunwoody will be different than anything else you've ever dealt with. You've had to deal with other government. We truly do have a business mindset and try to be very customer-centric and customer-focused. And so I hope if you have a chance to do some business with the city, and most of you don't, most of you won't. You really have no reason to interact with the city, but if you ever have the opportunity, you'll be impressed with the people we have. So let me start this off a little bit by talking about, why Dunwoody and why Dunwoody is so great. By the way, one of our city councilmen just showed up, Jim Reitmeister, out back. He's we're only missing one of our guys now. We actually have a quorum, so we're voting. What makes Dunwoody so great? Why do we love Dunwoody? And it's really a question a lot of people ask me all the time. Not quite that way, but that's what they're asking. Why? What's so great about this? Why do you live here? Why did you run for office? Why are you involved in this? And if you look at what Dunwoody is, it really is, kind of like the old real estate thing: location, location, location. We would not be who we are were it not for Atlanta and all the success Atlanta's had between the airport and port that feeds Atlanta, and the highway system, and all the things going on in Atlanta. Atlanta is a very, very successful city. And Dunwoody just happens to be the affluent suburb that everyone wants to be at, or near, or within. So why is that? Well, aside from the fact that location, look at, you have the best hospitals in the Southeast, right on our border. There's a lot of people that live hours away from hospitals, we're minutes away from hospitals. We have great transportation. I know it gets clogged up a lot, but between 285, 400, and MARTA, we're really in a great position. We are the nexus of shopping and restaurants in the whole metro area. We have 81 restaurants, individual restaurants. I'm not talking about the chains or the fast food places. I'm talking about individual restaurants. 81 restaurants you can eat at. I try to eat in a different one all the time. I still haven't got to all of them. You look at the fantastic office space we have. We're attracting worldwide headquarters and regional headquarters because of the great office space we provide. And on top of all that, we have the executive housing that allows these executives, these middle-level managers, a place to live very close to where they work. So if you think about what makes Dunwoody so great, most cities in this country would give anything to have half of that. And we have all of it. So it really is, that's what makes this so great. So it's important that we occasionally kind of step back and kind of smell the flowers and realize how lucky we are, why we live here and why we tell our friends about this place. So what I'm looking at is how do we show this off? And I'm not talking about trying to turn Dunwoody into a tourist location. That's not at all what it is. But how do you get that sense of place? And I talked about this in my State of the City address back in February, and it still sticks with me. It's really very important to me that how do we create this place to be the kind of place when you get off the highway or when you come from somewhere else, you finally get home, you just kind of, I'm home. This is why I live here. This is what makes it so great. So it's all about that sense of place and figuring out how to identify that. And you look around the country, we've all been to these places. Think about Savannah and Charleston, and even Nashville, even Canton Street in Roswell. Those areas have a sense of place. These things don't happen by accident. And that's really what it's all about for me. I don't know about you guys, I really thought, when I would go to Canton Street after dinner before I was mayor, this is so cool how this came about. The assumption is that it just happened organically by itself. The reality is it doesn't happen by itself. It actually takes planning, and it takes intestinal fortitude in a lot of cases. The mayor and city staff and city council of Roswell, 20 years ago when they came up with this Canton Street idea, they were called crazy. Why would you spend $2.5 million burying the wires underneath the road in this crappy part of town? But look what it's turned into. And that's what we're trying to do here in Dunwoody, is identify those places where we can have a sense of place. So we're doing a lot of things in Dunwoody Village. We did the Dunwoody Village Parkway. We caught a little bit of heat for that, I guess, but I think it's going to turn out to be fabulous. We've already attracted a townhome developer that wants to build in those buildings over behind Suntrust over near Village Burger. We've got a couple other locations, a couple other opportunities with restaurants from all over the Atlanta area wanting to come onto that street and be part of this. So it's all about how do we grow into this, and how do we deal with the problems that we do have, because you can't be successful without having some problems. And so I look around, and everybody has their idea of what problems we have, but I look at two problems. I look at traffic, and I look at school. Unfortunately, both of those are a little bit out of our control. Traffic, if you ever pull up Google Maps on your phone, or on your iPad, or on your computer, during a rush hour emergency, and as somebody said to me recently, if you want to see bad traffic in Atlanta, just add water. It's all about the fact that every time it rains or snows here in the entire Atlanta area, that Google map is turned red. Every road in the Atlanta area is clogged up. So it's not just Dunwoody. It's nothing that the city of Dunwoody can do by itself to solve that problem. We can pave Mount Vernon Road to be 8 lanes, and we would just attract all that traffic that's caught on 45 and 400. So we've got the governor spending $1 billion to build out the intersection of 400 and 285. That's going to be starting next year. It'll take 3 years to fix. I think it's bad now. Those 3 years are going to be miserable. But that's the only way you can get there. You have to go through the pain to finally get to the end point. So the $1 billion to basically put a spaghetti junction style intersection on top of that 400-285 interchange. Needless to say, the land is very expensive there, so they don't want to buy more land than they have to in order to fit this intersection there. So, and schools. Dunwoody has asked its representatives, and now we'll be going into our 3rd year of trying to do this, of creating our own school system in the state of Georgia. The Dunwoody school system. If you're familiar with Georgia very much, Marietta has its own school system as a city, so does Decatur, so does Gainesville, so does Beaufort. In reality, there's only 21 cities in the entire state that have their own school systems. The rest are just county run. But if you look at the list of the 10 most successful school systems in the state of Georgia, 8 of them, 8 out of 10, are city school systems. And that's what we want. That's what we think we can have. Now the problem is that it's actually a constitutional problem for us. That in order for us to have our own school system, we have to get 2/3 of both houses of the state legislature to approve this, which isn't easy. The governor needs to sign it, and then it goes to the entire state to vote on a referendum to change the state constitution. So we need 50% of everybody in the state who votes plus 1. So it's going to be hard, but we're working on it. And our state representatives, both Senator Miller, Representative Taylor, and Representative Jacobs, have been working very hard on this. And we've moved the ball forward each year. And we expect we're going to be moving the ball forward over the next few years. But we think we have a shot at this. So what does that do to the city of Dunwoody? I think it does a lot of things. I think, number one, it raises our house value by a couple $100,000. You look at what people pay to live in Decatur versus people who live just outside of Decatur, and that's the kind of difference you see in house value. You see the excellence of Decatur's school system, and that's just one example. It's one of the excellent school systems with a 96% graduation rate. You know what the graduation rate in DeKalb County is, where we are in Dunwoody? DeKalb County told me it's 58% now. It means 42% of the kids who go to high school don't graduate in DeKalb County. And that's an acceptable number to them. They say, no, you can't have your own school system. We're doing fine. Well, that's not right. So, Dunwoody is the place to live. Dunwoody is great. I am thrilled to be the mayor of Dunwoody. I couldn't have picked a better city in the entire world to be the mayor of. But the key is, like I said earlier, it's all about location, location, location. You could pick Dunwoody up and put it in South Georgia, and it would not be Dunwoody. We're Dunwoody because we are the affluent suburb of the city of Atlanta. And with that, Eric?
Sure. We'll go to the questions already.
You want to say anything else?
I'm good.
All right.
Cool.
Bob?
We'll go right into the topic ideas. First up is, I'll allow each of you to maybe say a couple words about it, but one of the topics that we got was Mount Vernon Road and the construction that's going on Mount Vernon Road. So, Mr. Mayor?
I'm going to let Eric take the construction question.
Sure. I'll be glad to. That's a special time. That's right. On Mount Vernon Road, we have we have Mindy here as well, further keep on track of this. There's a new water line going in. The DeKalb County water system is replacing the water line. It's time for that to be done. And as part of that, we're moving in with our roadway improvements as well along the Mount Vernon corridor. We improved the sidewalks along that as well as the resurfacing of that road. And so this is there was a placemat out front on this project. So y'all, you can take a look at that as well and get a more detailed description of that project. This is one of the things that the mayor was talking about, creating that sense of place, linking the different subdivisions, linking the community to the sidewalk, and at the same rate having our infrastructure improved. The road, the cap over the years does not keep up the roadway to the standards that we want them maintained. So we've got a city now, and what we need to do is we want to bring those roads onto our new standards, bring them up, on a standard repaving schedule, which would be about a 10 to 15 year cycle of resurfacing, and with that, kind of have a healing process, I'll say, for these roads to be able to have a much more pleasant experience when you're driving throughout the city.
Let me just add a little bit to that. Basically what's going on is the county is running a 16-inch pipe from the reservoirs over there on Peeler to the water tower. I'll get that. To the water tower at the corner of Mount Vernon and Asher Dunwoody Road. And their job is to run the clean drinking water up into that tower at night, and then the gravity of that tower feeds the rest of Dunwoody during the day. So, as Eric says, eventually that has to be done. Unfortunately, one of the things that's cropped up is Sandy Springs is in the middle of redoing an intersection at Spalding and Mount Vernon. And so now there's only 3 really good east-west ways to move through this area. And unfortunately, 2 of them are going to be compromised for a while. So traffic over on the northeastern corner of the city is a mess. We drove through that on the way here tonight. And it's going to be like that for 4 or 5 months, mainly while St. Springs does their intersection improvement. They've totally shut down that intersection on Vernon and Spalding.
Were there any specific questions that anyone had regarding the topic of Montgomery Road construction? Yes. Hold on.
Well, yes, when they first put up the board about that intersection, especially they were talking about changing Dunwoody in Mount Vernon, but I haven't seen any movement on that intersection, whereas they've been working on laying the new pipeline. When are they going to start the intersection itself?
Well, we have, as you know, that's one of the major intersections in the city, right? And that's been a washboard road, as you know, for a while. Right now, we don't have plans to do that this year. We figure that's going to be about a $6 million intersection for us. Most of the intersections that we're taking on right now are anywhere from $1 million to $2.5 million. That's going to be a very expensive one. It will take us a couple of years to fund. But basically, right now we're just looking at making those improvements along Mount Vernon, and we will be getting to that corner after they put all the pipes underneath the ground in the next year or 2.
Additional questions on that? Yes, please.
Mike, why don't y'all address a little bit about the benefits of doing this stuff in the summer? That's part of the reason I think these projects are overlapping a little bit.
Yeah. The question is, why don't I discuss is why we're doing it in the summertime? And aside from being the nicer weather and a better time to do this kind of thing, the main reason is we do our projects and we do the vast majority of our paving. And this year we'll do, I think, I forget the exact number of dollars we're spending on paving this year, but it's almost $3 million on paving, which, as Eric pointed out the other day, was more than they spent per year in the entire county of Douglas, where he came from. So the reason we do it in the summertime is obviously because school is out. And the whole point is to be able to do this during the nice weather when you can get to it. But more importantly, traffic is far less, it's just not as congested when school is out. And that's what it's all about for us. We were disappointed that Sandy Springs started so early. We would have preferred that they waited another month for school to be out. As soon as school is out, I think you'll see a vast difference in the amount of congestion we're having right now.
Additional questions on Montgomery Road construction? Hearing none, I guess we'll move on to the next topic. Somewhat related, it is traffic. Traffic in relation to short and long-term plans.
I'll start that out. The traffic, I know, is a hot topic in the area here, and there's a lot of things that we've done or will continue to do, and one of those, traffic light signalization, synchronization. We want to synchronize all the traffic lights where they work, especially in the perimeter CID area, and that's been a major project that we've going through, and there's always constant improvements that can happen to those. But it is It is controlled, and that's a major high point there. The other portion is some other road options that we're looking at. As the state farm development comes through, east-west connector also associated with those projects around the perimeter development. As the mayor mentioned earlier, one of the big ones is just outside the city, which is the Georgia 400 and 285 intersection. And that's we feel that will help alleviate quite a bit of traffic on Ashford Dunwoody in the afternoon. Because that's where a bottleneck, people can't get through on 285 west, 400 north primarily. That can be alleviated to help traffic in the city. Some of the other options that we'll look at more in the short term, of course, which is a lot of the resurfacing projects, intersection improvements, those types of things. Then you have the long range, which are your larger intersection improvements. And also, we look at various options. The staff wants to be sure we vet all options, which can be anywhere from widening the intersection to putting in a traffic circle. There's all kinds of different options of that nature. It's something that we want to look at and evaluate with our engineering staff, with our consultants, well, city council, and have those processes vetted through the public to find out what's the best blend to help alleviate traffic, protect the neighborhood, and to improve the circulation of the city. Mayor.
Yeah, let me talk a little bit about the issues we have with a lot of the roads in Dunwoody, and more importantly, the intersections. I think we have 13 intersections we've identified that need to be fixed. And most of those just require a center turn lane, so that one car wanting to turn left doesn't hold back 75 cars, which is what we have a lot of at both ends of Vermac, at Vermac and Stanley Dunwoody and Vermac and Mount Vernon. But we have a bunch of other ones around the city too, where one car wanting to turn left holds back a quarter mile with the cars. So you think that's pretty easy, just widen the road a little bit, put a turn lane in. Well, each one of those is about $1.5 million. And give you an idea of how things work. As a city, we bring in about $25 million a year, give or take, in total revenue. And so, we have to figure out how to spend that on all sorts of things. And there's all sorts of things we spend money on. And paving and streets are very important to us. But the funny thing is, as Terry Noel and I talk a lot, we first got elected, the big thing we talked about was intersection improvement, because we really thought that was important. Come to find out, and we have yet to do one. We have yet to do one of them. We have a bunch on the books, we have a bunch on the drawing board, we have a bunch that we've already put the money in the bank, and it's earning huge interest rates, like 1/4% or something. But it's sitting there waiting for, the number one problem we have is waiting for the County to make the underground infrastructure improvements before we do the pavement. And the point is that, and this thing on Mount Vernon, where these 16-inch pipes are coming in, there's a lot of very old infrastructure here in Dunwoody. Most of it is 40, 50 years old. It's now at the end of its life. And we don't want to do the repaving or the sidewalk work or even the intersection improvement, knowing that the county has on its plans in the very near future to come replace that pipe. So we've been pushing them very hard to get them to commit to do these pipes. And this year, we had to get our county commissioner, Nancy Jester, to go to the mat to get this project moved forward and to get it done this year. The 8 to 16-inch pipe on Vernon. So we have that going on. We have that's intersecting a bunch of other intersections. We also have a lot of work that has to come up Stanley Dunwoody Road, pretty much from Georgetown all the way to the village. And we have a lot of plans to put in sidewalks and curbs and gutters. When you drive by there, most of that is just ditches and no curbs or gutters. So the only way we can do that is by waiting until the county has done their work. So we have the money in the bank, we have it waiting, we've been allotting it all along, but we can't do any of that because the last thing you want to do is do all this work and have the county come back 2 years later and tear the whole thing up to put the pipes in if you knew they were going to put it in anyhow. So it's a lot of effort to get them to move forward, and the county commission has its own problems, but we're pushing them to get done what we're asking them to do. That's really, a lot of our whole things up is just waiting for them to get the water pipes, the sewer pipes, and in this case, the actual freshwater pipe from the reservoirs over to the big tank. That's holding a lot of the stuff up. So any questions
on traffic?
Yes, sir.
I swear there's more electronics in my bedroom clock than there are in some of those traffic lights.
You would think.
Well, yeah.
You would think.
I think that it could go a long way towards alleviating the traffic light. I don't know what those things cost. I'll try to figure it out. But I tried going down Park Avenue in New York City, 40 blocks. And it took me, I don't know, 5.5 minutes maybe, because those lights went like this. We all know that traffic. I'm just thinking, why should I drive down Roberts Drive going to the airport at 4:30 in the morning and stop at the light? I mean, those things I would have thought would be easy to cure by, getting modern lights that sense traffic coming, that sense when there's no traffic there, that will keep the lights green if there's no traffic. Does that type of technology exist?
Well, it does. It does. We don't have any of it yet. We just recently got, for the entire perimeter area, including Sandy Springs and Dunwoody and the perimeter, a $2.8 million grant to synchronize the lights. And so now that process is moving forward. So now our job in the city is, how do we now take that technology and spread it out? If you ever look inside one of the boxes that controls the light, you would think it should be about as much as your alarm clock on your nightstand. You're right. But it's a couple $100,000 worth of electronics in there. And I don't know what's in there, but there's a lot of wires and a lot of stuff in there. But the point is that there are smart lights available now. And I think that's where the city needs to be moving in the future. The first step is synchronization. Expand that out of the perimeter. I've actually gotten from my house, during the middle of the day, I got my house to Villa Christina, which is inside the perimeter, in 4 minutes. And I live in North Dunwoody. Every green light was green. It all just worked out. Any other day would be 45 minutes. So we're working on fixing that.
But many times you can take a bowling ball from that, from Mount Vernon, and it goes all the way to the
Yeah, morning, certainly, yeah.
But the PCI has always said, oh, these lights work well. Whoever says that, never picked up and down on the PCI. Those lights don't work. I mean, they're just red. Okay?
No, they're not. No, they actually have been synchronized. That's the way you want.
Well, no, you shouldn't have. You shouldn't go to a green light and then stop at a red light. That shouldn't happen. It happens.
Yeah.
Even that new road behind the River Parkway, the same thing. You've got parking lots coming off the path that'll sit there. You're red, and after you bring that parking lot, the car is 34 seconds. So you got to imagine that either they're cheap lights or nobody bothers to fix them, or there's nothing.
Right. And there is new technology out there. I've been reading about it that actually does do this, as opposed to just the wire in the ground that feeds into the machine, actually senses how much traffic is coming. And I think the city of Dunwoody will probably be one of the first in the area to actually experiment with that. I think that's needed. I agree with you.
You've been paving for 5 or 6 years now. I'm glad to hear that the result for this year is higher than last year and continuing towards that point. There's a lot of folks who feel the city should spend no money on anything except police and paving until every road in the city of Dunwoody has been paved at least once. Now I realize and I understand your point about having to wait for a cab. Under the best possible scenario in dealing with the cab, when might every street in Dunwoody have been paved the first time, and we get on that 10 to 15 year cycle that the city manager talked about?
Sure, and it'll take, it'll take 10 years to get them all done from the time we started until we're finished with them. And the reason that is because we started on our schedule. We haven't ignored a lot of the roads. And because of that, especially a lot of the subdivision streets, and you have a hard winter, you have a lot of rain, you start seeing the mud coming up, through the street. And we try to keep on top of all the potholes, keep everything in good shape. But at the same rate, the cycle that I mentioned, that 10-year cycle, we didn't start the roads in good shape. And so that puts us, behind on that cycle. I feel like this year, looking at the roads, looking at the surveys we've had on the roads, this year will be the turning year for us to start getting a much better quality overall rating of the roads within the city. And after you see this year's paving, and I believe, maybe we have a paving list here with us on one of the maps. We have that here tonight. And so, if you take a look at that, I think you'll start seeing it start to return, and a lot of activity will occur in this year's paving cycle. Like I said, the council has they want to put the primary focus.
There's a lot of activity every year. I'm glad to see it. This year, the street eyeball will get paid. I'm glad to see that.
Sure.
Is there any guess as to when you might get through it and it's time to start around the second?
Right. Yeah. That was that. And I don't want to give you a number that's too low, because I'm going to try to put it on the outer end of it a little bit, and which is going to be closer to that 10 to 15 year mark when we became a city, where everything comes around. If we get it done quicker, we will. But the paving, it's very expensive. Of course, it's a commodity. There's only asphalt prices, fuel prices, everything else, and the labor costs go up every year on it. But then the asphalt is a variable each year as well. But the amount of money that we committed to this year, as the mayor mentioned earlier, is for a city our size, that is an ambitious program. I'm glad we're doing that.
Well, that brings up the question. Whenever we get to that point, where there's another 10 years before we get to that point, then what do you expect the average paving expenditure to be from that point on?
The amount of money that we're putting in this year, which is, let's just say it's $3 million. It's just shy of $3 million. But by today's dollars, I think once you get to a point where things are much better condition, and you get on a normal cycle, the cost per mile goes down, of course, how much it costs to resurface, because you have to go into the deep patching. It doesn't take as long. You get on a point where the trucks are basically just going through and doing resurfacing. You can't go out there and resurface a road that's in very poor condition. You have to fix the potholes first. You have to fix any other bad spots that are in the subgrade. The other issue is that's also saying the road's put in correctly to begin with. Sometimes we get into an area, we'll find out the base wasn't put in correctly. Some asphalt wasn't the right depth. The base wasn't the right depth. You get those issues. So, based on, I think you can scale that back by a couple $100,000 once we get to a point where we're back, get to zero, and which is, right where we should be, and do our annualized program. And if you look at a lot of different programs around the metro area and the amount of traffic that the roads handle, that the 10 to 15 year is a good number. Some roads can go a little longer, on the subdivision street. You'll see some will go 20 years, some will go 15. On your major thoroughfares, you're looking at a 10 to 12 year cycle for those, because you don't want to get to the point with washboard, with rutted, with alligators. All that costs you more money to fix it. And we want to get to a point where we can just go into a maintenance on an annualized cycle, and the amount of roads we pay each year is kind of a standard number. That's the goal we want to be. And there's, like I said, there's other communities around us that have pretty good models, and my goal will be to follow what those programs are and what those standards have been set. I hope that answers your question.
Let me add one more thing to that. First of all, John Hennigan, our seventh member of the City Council, just walked in, so we have a full complement now. Interesting, Bill, the question you have is, a lot of people would like to see no money spent on anything except police and pavement.
I don't agree with that, but I hear it.
No, and you won't see the city doing that either, but that certainly is one of the requests. The interesting thing is, I don't know what kind of what year cycle DeKalb County is on, but they're not keeping up, you would say, to a point where now Doraville and Chamblee are now, I think one of them has already made the decision and one is talking about it. They have always been on, let DeKalb County do their paving for them. And their citizens are going crazy because they're looking slightly to the north and looking at Dunwoody and seeing all the paving we're doing and haven't seen a paving truck in Doraville or Chamblee in years. So both of those city governments are now going in the same direction that you've gone since the very beginning. And they're going to start doing their own paving. They're fed up with the fact that DeKalb is not paving any of the streets.
Additional questions on traffic? Start out on traffic and we're on the page.
Yeah, my question about traffic is partly, I live over in Kingsley, so it is, there are no through streets to really get through, even when Mount Vernon is not being improved upon that, and the amount of through traffic that we get in the mornings. Do you have any plans for alleviating the massive congestion that backs up past Tilly Mill every morning and here on Womack, which is just a mess? When the school lets out, you know, they just stop all the traffic, and of course the traffic packed up on Tilly Mill all the way down to North Beach Street. And it's just it's very, you have to plan your whole day and when you want to go out as someone who works from home based on how much traffic you're going to run into. And especially the morning traffic, which we all know.
Well, you know, it's a combination of a construction issue and a political issue. The reality is that if you look at Dunwoody, and the way I look at it is Atlanta is kind of the shape of an hourglass, and Dunwoody is the skinniest part of it. Where all the housing is north of us, all the jobs are south of us, and we have a combination of both. And people from all over the metro area come through Dunwoody in order to get to wherever they're going. And so we end up with a situation where we don't have a solution right now other than hoping that when 400 and 285 are expanded and improved, that we will stop being the best alternative to being stuck on 285 and 400. So that's my answer to it. Our fear is that whatever, and I think I said this earlier, if we turn Mount Vernon Road into an 8-lane road, we would just have the same degree of congestion, just eight lanes wide instead of 2 lanes wide. Because people would just find this to be the better way to go. So we don't really have a good answer for that, because anything we build will be found by apps like Waze, and people will find their way through Dunwoody if we provide the easiest, quickest way to get through the area. So no, the answer is we really don't have a better answer than hoping and praying that 400 and 285 is the solution that $1 billion should buy you.
There's another question.
I have a suggestion for Womack and Burnack. Right now, people will stop. We're going to talk about doing a roundabout there, which, you know, for all the matter of the city. What about a stoplight? You know, a very simple stoplight will alleviate a lot of that stop. You know, to get there, a lot of people don't quite know how to work the four-way stop sign. You know, and the stoplight there, especially if you time it at certain times of the day, you know, so where, like, in the evenings, northbound traffic has priority, you know, some timing, to alleviate that traffic. And as far as Tilly Mill and North Beach Street, timing on that way could also help alleviate traffic. You know, I don't know if it's kind of different at different times of day, but, you know, if you had a traffic engineer look at that, where you can change the timing of that signal at a specific time of day, you're alleviating a lot of traffic there.
I don't know what we're going to do with Womack and Burnack. A roundabout was one of the suggestions. We had several other suggestions. A four-way stop, according to the traffic engineers, is a failure. A roundabout works well, but scared the neighbors. There's no such thing as a simple stoplight right there, because almost every car coming through there goes in a different direction than the car in front of it and the car back of it. So you don't just have a ton of traffic going east-west and a ton of traffic going north-south. You end up with a lot of traffic always wanting to turn, you know, so every car is going in a different direction. And so you end up having to take a lot of right-of-way to make that entire intersection wide enough for right, left, and straight lanes on all four legs. And so that's the problem. I think a roundabout is the only solution. I don't know when we'll be coming back to that. We have 13 intersections to work on, and we're moving through the intersections as we do.
Additional questions on traffic before we move on?
I noticed several times when I travel down Shannon
there, that camera, and cars that make the little turn all the time.
Going north and south.
Exactly
They talk about here.
right. I mean, it's just not wrong because I don't think it's not going to go on that way. First people are able to see the sign. They're like, no, they don't pay attention to that.
Well, no, we've seen it. We've you don't keep a tally of how many tickets you've given at any individual intersection, have you?
I don't have that in my head, but we do issue citations there quite often.
I've seen a handful of times where there's an officer sitting in that neighborhood right there, the first one in on the right, and just pulling people over. And you know, after $178 ticket, usually most people don't want to do that again. So we are aware of it, and you know, the problem is I feel terrible for people that live like 4 houses in and have to go all the way around, you know, a couple miles to get to their house when they could see it. So, you know, but that we are aware.
One comments of where we are with your topics. Yes, I'd like to move on to the next topic. That's the major topic is speeding in neighborhoods and speed bumps and how that is determined whether a street should have one and concerns that.
Sure. I'll everybody. Neighborhood speed, and that's not exclusive, just to Dunwoody. That's a problem in all areas. And but we do have a good system in place, or a good solution in place. We have the opportunity to put in speed humps. We have a speed hump ordinance, and there's a process when the neighborhood chooses to have speed humps in place within their neighborhood, and there's a cost associated with that as well. But it's a good move if and it works well in a lot of neighborhoods. They have to be installed in a proper fashion. They're designed to be become part of a 25 miles. If you get faster than that, your car is designed to scrape the speed hump or to become a deterrent, I should say. And there's also other issues that we've looked at, which are other traffic calming issues. And so if there's an issue in a particular neighborhood, you'll let us know, or the staff know. We'll be glad to take a look at that. And speed humps provide a good option, but they have to put on a straightaway. You can have on steep hills and a curve, but you can have other traffic calming, things as simple as striping, some of splitter items, different things of that nature that can help. And what we want to be sure of from an engineering standpoint is it doesn't create, an attraction for younger drivers to see how fast they can go over the speed hump or they get airborne. So we want to be very careful with that. It doesn't create another hazard. So, but having said that, that is something that we're conscientious of. The speed within the neighborhood. If there's an issue, please let the city know. Let me send an email or as well as contact staff if there's anything additional on that topic tonight.
Let me just talk a little bit about that. We have a lot of stop signs in neighborhoods. Not very many neighborhoods that are large enough don't have stop signs in them. And we have a lot of people that get tickets for rolling through. Or, hold on, that's your name. We have a lot of people that roll through, so we get a lot of complaints from neighbors saying, we got a stop sign right in front of my house, and I see cars blow through there all day long. So Chief has, on a regular basis, has officers out there pulling people over and issuing tickets for failure to stop. And I get complaints all the time about, I got $178 seems to be the standard for people just blowing through these stop signs. And, and people call me up, I can't believe it should be like $25. If it was 25, would you stop doing it? Probably not. So, it's one. You stop every other time that you stop, and this was the only time you didn't stop at it? No, I go through them all. And your cost per over a lifetime is probably 1/10%. So, So anyhow, every city has issues like that, and we do a pretty good job of controlling it, and it tends to be the people that complain about people rolling through tend to end up getting the tickets. So it's a, sorry about that.
The specific question about speeding in neighborhoods.
Yes.
A question on North Beach Street between Tilly Mill and Dunwoody Club Drive. So that segment, that's a residential street. Sign posted at 25 miles an hour.
Yeah.
But it's really wide, and cars go fly through there. And if I drive, zip close, say 30, wink, wink, what's tailgating me, and it's really good. So I would look at, I know that schedule will be repaid in a couple of years, I believe, maybe to verify that. But potentially when we do repaving, maybe do something like we did on the Vermac, put some narrow stripes and just the cost of paint, potentially. Some other traffic calming devices. I'd just like to see some traffic calming on the side.
Well, you're right. One of the ways to do traffic calming is just narrow the width of the street by moving the white lines in from the curve in and going from 12 feet to 11 feet to 10 feet. It gives the illusion of being a little narrower street than you can speed on. So that is one of the ways we do it. We slowed down traffic on Mount Vernon from Chambly Dunwoody over going west, and by narrowing the width of the lanes, putting in bike lanes, and we actually saw a decrease in speed because it is the illusion of being not as wide a street as it first appeared.
Currently on the schedule for 2018, Joe.
Oh, Jim is up there doing the banner white.
2018. That's that segment of North Beach Street.
My question is about the types of speed humps. Some of them are really bad all over. I don't exceed the speed limits in neighborhoods before the stop bar. Some of the speed humps are like really, you have to be going so slow to go that you might consider changing some of the future speed humps to be more modern.
I think you'll find that most municipal speed bumps, most city speed bumps are in a speed bump table that they build. And they're not bad. They're designed to keep, if you go over at 25 miles an hour, your car can handle it pretty well. Now, if anybody drove into the school here and went over the speed bumps to come in, those are rough on your car. You can't take those at more than 3 or 4 miles an hour. But those are the ones the city usually put in. But we usually put with the speed bump table. And they're designed for the average car to comfortably be able to go 25. You try taking it at 40, and you'll be airborne.
I drive a Toyota Corolla that's pretty low to the ground, so it can be...
one of those hip-hop cars?
Oh, man, I don't like doing that.
Additional questions about speeding in neighborhoods or speeding. Not hearing any, we'll move on to, Nandina Lane. There's a specific question about Nandina Lane. And a lot of you guys have set it up.
Nandina Lane is interesting. It's a pet peeve for a lot of people. You either love it or you hate it. I love it. My wife hates it. But I win because I'm the mayor.
That is. Where it is.
I'm sorry. Nandina Lane is, where Dunkin' Donuts is? At the corner. Right. It's that little cutthroat road where the veterinary clinic is, the Dunwoody Choir is back there on that office park. And part of the problem in taking that road out would be is that the Primrose School is back there, and that's their only access. Moondog Growler is the haircut place. Dunwoody Choir is back there. That's their only access. So right now we've had no discussion to take that road out.
They thought about making it one way, north and south.
I don't think we ever really talked about it at the city council. I don't know if the staff has ever brought that up. Any of you guys talk about that?
Absolutely, yes. We're looking at different solutions to that. One that's coming up is we want to eliminate access from Mount Vernon onto it, so it's right out from Mount Vernon Road. And we'd like to incorporate that in our Mount Vernon paving this year.
So it's most likely the staff is going to bring us a solution this year. And then it comes down to city council deciding and voting on how best to fix it.
Mandy, why don't you have a stop sign and not a dead sign? The cars that go rolling through there, it's always a question of who will get killed first. and it will say police car through there. A stop sign.
Okay. Well, if next time you go through there, you'll notice there is a stop sign. Is it hard to see for cops?
I think she was talking about the corner of Sheridan maybe versus Mount Vernon.
You mean go?
What was the specific word say? Big deal?
I work in the office complex right there by Indiana and Mount Vernon. And the cars are in such a hurry, nobody yields, nobody.
Where?
So I have to sit there and yell like that. And there's a car it needs to be a stop sign.
There is one.
Okay?
There is one there. There.
No, there is a yield sign.
I think you're talking about. I think we're talking about coming up from Chambly Dunwoody going south toward 285, right? If you swing on an Andina, you don't have the right of way. The car coming from CVS has the right of way.
Do you know where Maryland is?
Where what is? Yeah, the Rowling.
There is a yield sign right there.
If you make the angle from southbound Chambly Dunwoody and angle right to southbound Andina, right in front of Burger King and Rudolph Rowell, that's a yield sign. That's what you're talking about. It's right, that's a dangerous
Yeah.
The yield sign, very dangerous.
All right, Mindy, you got that? Okay.
That's noted in our public works. Any other specific questions about Andina before we move on? None. Pedestrian access to Dunwoody Village. There was a question raised about the nearby neighborhoods and pedestrian access, not only on sidewalks, but other opportunities for access for walkers.
Well, I think the question was, believe you come into from the neighborhoods into the village.
Coming from the neighborhood into the village by means of a different entity.
Right, yeah. And that's something that that pedestrian access is something that the city will be glad to take a look in at over time. Take the easements to get from through someone else's property, basically. You have to have an easement to come through there. But if it's something that the neighborhoods would like to connect to the city trail system, we'll be glad to take a look at those and that type of system. There's some of the over at Brook Run Park, we have our new trail system over there as well, and it's always it's a mixed bag. Some people feel, hey, we don't want a connection to the trail to our neighborhood. Other people see it as a huge benefit to be able to connect into that trail system. And I believe over time it becomes it's somewhat of a perception maybe that somebody's going to have a safety issue or somebody's going to come from the trail into the neighborhood. But at the end of the day, it's a real amenity, and it's something that we'd like to have the neighborhood connect to make it a more walkable community. That's part of our goal is to connect those commercial areas because the benefit is to live in this subdivision rather than having to walk out to the front along the main road and back in to get to a restaurant. You can take a 2 to 3 minute walk through the easement through the subdivision and go out for a nice dinner and walk back home. It's all about walkable communities, and so that's something we want to look at. We'll be glad to look at that. If anybody has connectivities or suggestions for our parks part, we'll be glad to take a look at those as well. But it's a great suggestion, Bob, and I'm glad it's one of the topics.
Are there any questions or follow up on that?
Well, we'll wait for that. What do we just say on that? I would love anybody in one of those neighborhoods to donate or let us buy an easement to get into the property. Because right now, there is no easement, and I don't think City Council would have the stomach to do eminent domain or something to take some of the property to put a trail through there. But it's something we're willing to donate, a 12-foot, 20-foot wide piece, we would probably be willing to buy it.
Well, I agree with you, just as you would like the property owners to donate anytime the city needs property, rather than having to buy. I won't ask you how many times that's actually happened. I will say Eric, I agree with you. The concept is good. It's shown on the existing comprehensive plans on both sides of Dunwoody Village, for example, the commercial area, trail, potential for a trail coming in from Terry's neighborhood or potential coming in from the branches of my neighborhood on the other side. It's very unlikely that anybody will ever donate their property. That's why I asked about the question, is the city open to the idea of actually buying easements to achieve that goal? It sounds like you might be. And easements, purchase of easements to achieve that goal has never been discussed before, in my mind.
I don't think it ever has been, only because no one's ever come to us saying, we'd like to buy a 20-foot wide strip along the side of my house.
Well, I'm not sure you'll find anybody that will sell you that much space, but it should be negotiable. As well as you should offer not only compensation, but maybe some additional privacy landscaping as well, close to the field.
That's why I say 20 feet, because you'd have to take 12 feet to the path, and then enough room on both sides to be able to provide some screening.
Now, I can think of one example where there's a dirt path that goes from a stub behind Publix out of branches. Now, there's an existing dirt path that goes to the chain link fence. 12 years ago, when Don Boykin was president of DHA, Regency, who owns the shopping center, asked him, is there any way we can stop people from knocking our fence down back there? Because we've spent $10,000 so far this year replacing it. Well, DHA's response was, why don't we put in a pedestrian access? And Regency's comeback on that was, our insurance won't allow it. I feel that the city should be able to overcome that objection, where a private organization couldn't. What do you think?
I agree. Send me a map on what that is, and we'll start that ball rolling.
Now,
I'd love to.
Eric, you quantify it by saying if the neighborhood's want it. What do you want in that way? For example, if the neighborhoods want speed tables, there's a set process to go through with a vote, a certain percentage, and all of that. Now, the people who might have those last two houses where it would go between them might not want it, but everybody else might. How do we deal with that?
Yeah, that becomes, that's a negotiation point we have to have, with those property owners. And, usually there's more than one spot you can put that connection, and that's a good thing. And some of the houses, there may be some existing easements out there we can look at as well. Maybe a drainage easement, something that starts out that we could put a trail on to help navigate through. But we don't want to take between two houses that are already kind of close together. So in other words, not every lot's suitable. But I think that's something we could certainly look at, and then we can work with the neighborhood, look at the trail system, start making those connections. On a piece of paper. In other words, what's the most logical piece that we can approach the neighborhood? There's not we don't have right now, like you said to your point, there's not a format like there's a speed thing. But it's something that we can certainly, staff's here tonight. It's a point that's being noted, and so that's something we can have an initiative on.
Okay. Do you need a statement from the neighborhood, like the Greater Branches Neighborhood Association?
I think
you go on board to get that something like that started.
Yeah, I think that'd be a great start. And you send that, copy me on it as well, but send it to our parks folks and send it to me, I'll direct it. And so we can take a look. That's a, from a planning standpoint, we have our planning staff here as well. I mean, those are great projects, and they're great connections for the community. And it's part, and Bob's actually one of the other items on the agenda was talking about, your trail, walkability, and connectivity. And it all links together to what we're talking about here. And that's all, as the mayor mentioned earlier, and as the council said before, which is that sense of place. What can we do to create a sense of place? And walkability is number one. And you think about places you go, on vacation, and what's nice is whenever you just park the car, you'll leave it there for 2 or 3 days because you can walk to the various locations. And that's all part of what this would encourage.
I agree. God knows I need the exercise.
Just to finish that thought,
a number of years ago, before most of us were on city council now, we're on city council, the city proposed running trails through the power lines. And the pitchforks came out in spades. So my request on all of these things would be, and I think we've identified within the city a half a dozen places that we could just have an access point, we could really make some connections. That I would love to see neighborhoods come to us asking for this connection, as opposed to the city going forward and trying to impose an idea.
I'm just afraid if you wait for that, it won't happen.
Well, it takes a neighborhood, and it takes a neighborhood organizer, and it takes a neighborhood organization to want that to happen, and to spread the word. But my impression is, at least the experience of the city when we tried to run, just to have a discussion about running trails through power lines. And we have about a 4.5 mile straight line through diagonal through the city of a power line. There were 300 people that showed up at that city council. And it was...
No, we're offering money for it.
Well, it wasn't that far. It was just, would it be of interest? And it just came out in...
Oh, I understand. I was there. Yeah. This is the first SRO ground game.
So pedestrian access into Dunwoody Village, are there other inquiries on that? If not, we'll move to park space. The question here was about the city working to establish pocket parks, whether that's on land that a house is for sale on, as well as additional, or as well as active recreational fields, meaning ball fields, in addition to the ones that are currently being planned on the Harnshell Park, and I think other more organized and active recreational.
That's actually a bunch of questions rolled into one. Let me talk about pocket parks first, because that doesn't take very long. Somebody wants, we have a handful in the city, and if somebody wants to donate a lot that really can't be built on, we'll talk about turning it into a pocket park. Interestingly, though, we were offered a piece of property a few years ago over on Roberts Drive that we turned down. The church that owned it had been willed to them in some form or fashion, and the church had ownership for it, and it was costing them a few $1,000s a year to take care of the trees that kept on falling on it. And they wanted to give it to the city to get rid of the albatross that it had become. And the city had no interest, because there was really no way to turn this quarter acre into a pocket park, since a creek went diagonally through it. So pocket parks, we'll talk about anything, but it's hard to do much with 4/10 of an acre with a stream running through it, because no one's donating buildable lots. They only want to donate unbuildable lots. It's hard to turn that into a park, because the people who live on all sides of it are not thrilled that kids will be camping out in it or whatever the plan is. So pocket parks, somebody has a piece of property they want to give us, we'll talk. Active recreation fields. I think that's going to be an interesting conversation that the city's going to have over the next couple of years. We really don't have much in the way of active or active is an all-encompassing word. Does active mean organized sports leagues that they control the park, that control that space, and don't let anybody else use it? Or is it just open fields that can be used by all sorts of organizations? You look at Perfect Campo Park over in Brookhaven, or Morgan Falls Park over in Sandy Springs, and most of that is organized field space that is run by an authority, an organization that gets a little bit bent out of shape when other groups want to use it for some other type of sport. And we as a city have to figure out how exactly to handle it. But I think we do have a very limited space for that, but we have a 100-acre park over in Brookwood Park, and the large majority of it, the back of the park, is open fields that can be turned into some sort of play field. I'm not sure that the city council is willing to turn it over to an organization like the Mercantile Little League or the Morgan Falls organization, but something where lots of kids can get out and play, and organizations can have events. I'm not sure what else to say about that one.
Any questions on it?
Mr. Callahan?
Yeah, I had a couple comments on the parks. I see a trend lately where our parks are turning into more regional attractions than things for children and active adults and numbers. An example would be the Treetop Quest, Dog Park, a proposed theater, the skate park. These are things in the nature centers. These are broadcast and advertised regional attractions, trying to bring in people from all over Metro Atlanta. I'm not saying we're going to exclude people, but I would like to see some facilities, some amenities built specifically for the needs, desires of the people who actually live here and pay the taxes. I just see this trend as more come to Dunwoody from all over Metro Atlanta. Meanwhile, where everyone with children, we're driving our children to Roslyn, Sandy Springs, Brookhaven. We're taking our kids everywhere else for these sporting events, and everyone else comes here for other things. A lot of people love to keep their children here. On the other note, on the parks, the original park survey from a few years ago, I think it's been 5 years ago, there was a survey that took place and discussed what people want to have in Dunwoody parks. I haven't heard of any of this regional survey. Still on the city's website. I haven't had it mentioned in years. There's no discussion of the theater there, the Treetop Quest, or anything like that. They talk about sports fields, some senior activities. And I'd like to know that the regional survey is still relevant, and we can take a look at that survey that was done 5 years ago.
Well, the survey is still relevant. The number one issue that was expressed, I think 80% of the survey was in favor of multi-use trails. And so that's the first thing we've done. We spent about $1 million on, I think it's almost 2 miles of trails inside that park. And I hope a lot of you have walked on it. It's really pretty neat. And now this year we're adding to that and coming into Georgetown through some property we've gained access to. I don't know what's next on that agenda list. You know, multi-use trails for the first one. That's where we've been spending a lot of our time. Open fields are important. We spent a good bit of money in the last couple of years leveling out some fields back there, and Brent is our park manager is busy building building that structure out so we can make it into something usable. Up until recently, it was just rolling hills of grass. So we've got a couple of flat areas there now that we've walked through because we got our hands on a lot of free dirt, and we were able to level it out and plant some grass out there. Active sports, inactive sports, passive sports, that's going to be the question for City Council to have over the next year or so, is exactly how we want to parse that out. And I think for me, at the end of the day, it's, we have, a city of 47,000 people and 170 acres worth of parks. And we can't be all things to all people. So we have some amenities in other cities. We have, tennis facilities in Sandy Springs and in Brookhaven, with Blackburn Park and Sandy Springs tennis locations. So do we want to build a big tennis location? Probably not. We've already got 2 very close by. Baseball fields, Little League fields, softball fields. We've got some pretty good facilities in the towns adjacent to us. Do we want to use a lot of acreage for that? I'm not sure. So that's really going to be a question for City Council to really digest over the next year or 2, is exactly how we want to use that property. We have, I think, about 25 acres back?
Yeah, there's about 15, 16 open.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor just pointed out that much like the comprehensive plan update that's going on right now, comprehensive land use plan update, the park master plan update will happen in 2016. So there's an opportunity to address some of the needs and wants and desires.
Yeah, and that's a chance for the citizens to really get involved. We acquired those parks a year and a half after we became a city. And so when we first did our first park master plan, it was really just kind of, oh my gosh, we finally got our hands on this property. And it's ours now. And it'd be interesting to see what a master plan looks like next year for us to make that decision. I appreciate you reminding me of that. That's next year's plan.
Another question right here.
Okay, we got one here.
Some of you know, I've been quite active here in Dunwoody. I've lived here for 37 years. Everyone, I think, needs to pay attention to what is and is not going on with the Donaldson and Mr. Farm. It has been sitting there for years and years. There's a little maintenance going on, but if an effort is put into making that an enjoyable park, it's claimed by now as a park, but if some real effort is put into saving that place, children can come in there as they do at the Nature Center. They learn about farming, gardening, having picnics there. It's a historical landmark, and I think it's a diamond in the rough for the city of Dunwoody. So please, everybody, please don't forget about it.
Well, let me talk about that for a second. And we as a city council haven't really figured out what to do with that. That piece of property, in my mind, was bought from a connected landowner by the county when we were flush with park money, and they spent I forget how much money, $1 million and change to buy that piece of property, and we acquired when we became a city, and when we got all that parkland. To repair that building to make it usable, we're looking at about $3 million. And I don't think the city council has the appetite to allocate $3 million out of our $25 million a year budget to figure out what to do with that, because it has no parking, it has no real use. I don't know what the answer is. I'm not going to, city council have to figure that out, but I don't know what the answer is. We have a question up here first.
I appreciate that you still have this set up on the table without listening to the but I also, I'm a here for the tornado, and I'm so happy to see that they're putting tornado signs at the front park. It's wonderful. It's a nice thing to do them. And they're right here, they're in the college. Is there any plans to have more language? Remember, they didn't go off the other day. They haven't been activated yet. Oh, is that what it is? Yeah, that's what it is. You may or may not be able to hear them inside.
Yeah, the question was, what about tornado sirens? And Lynn's answer was, we just had some installed, and a tornado warning came through, and we were a week away from having the final connection made to them to see if they work. So first step is, next time you have a tornado warning, let's see who can hear it. And then we'll address it from there. Personally, I say no to tornado sirens. I think they are old technology. Everyone's walking around with a smartphone. If you were anywhere around a crowd of people when that first storm warning came off, everyone's phones were going off in their pockets. And everywhere around, every single phone in the space of a minute was going off. We were in St. Augustine at the time, and our phones went off. So we knew there was tornado warnings in Dublin. I think that tornado sirens are old technology, and I'll tell you what, tornado sirens are fine, but don't put one in front of my house. And that's what's going to happen. It's going to be the NIMBY thing, where we all want tornado sirens, but no one wants one 50 feet from their front house, their front window. And they're going to have to be 50 feet from somebody's front window. So I don't see City Council going along with tornado sirens at this juncture. I think the new technology is going to be more and more improved, and I don't see it happening. We put two in our parks, one in Dunwoody Nature Center and one over in Brooklyn Park.
I have another question about parks all around the topic.
Well, Mr. Mayor, go back to the comment about the farmhouse. Is there any consideration to the city passing that property and deeding it to the Dunwoody Preservation Trust? It takes away from the percentage of parks.
The question is, would we be willing to deed that Dunwoody the Bannister Chestnut home? That Bannister Chestnut, it's got several names. You know, I think if they came to us with an offer, we would be willing to figure out something to do because we don't have a clue what to do with it. And we're not, and I don't see us spending $3 million to fix it up and still not have a clue what to do with it. So that's my answer. And I'm one of 7 votes, keep that in mind. Yeah, this is my town hall, I tell you what I think, but we have 6 people that could outvote me very easily. Actually, it'll only take 4 of them.
Back to the parks. I've got a couple low-hanging fruit ones. Sandy Springs City Center, when they tore down the Target, they threw some grass seed down, and they had a temporary play field for a couple of years. So all they did was, we had that back here acreage in her front. How about just like having a tiller on a fire tractor, just kind of till it, throw some seed out there, let it germinate, and all of a sudden you've got this loading fruit, now you got a little space for kids to play in or whatever. So, number 2, how about a couple of dump trucks full of sand, and we can all of a sudden have some sand volleyball courts up by the old Evan building right here at Bird Park.
Good idea. We're doing both. What? We're doing both. Really? Okay.
Another question about park space.
Joe, you're not the man, are you?
I have nothing to do with it.
And the city approached the school, the county school, about the little school property. Who the vote track is that came?
The question was, has the city approached DeKalb County about the middle school property on Chandler Dunwoody Road?
Short answer, yes. Long answer, no response. They, as you know, the decision makers have been in a state of flux for a long time now. Try to be gentle.
I think there's a clarification.
An update, we do have some movement on both sides with that. I've been in the past month, and we're getting closer to Chandler Dunwoody update, no.
Any additional questions on that park space item before we move to the next? All right, who's the next? Brook Run Theater. There's a question about what's happening about Brook Run Theater.
Okay, again, I'm one of 7 people, but Brook Run Theater is a theater that was built about 50 years ago on the old Georgia mental retardation facility, and was used for many years. The facility was closed close to 20 years ago, and the property was deeded over to DeKalb County a few years later. So it's about 20 years since that building's been used for any kind of theater to speak of. I was looking into it this morning to find out, to make sure I had my dates right. And it's about 20 years ago that the state shut it down. The last time it was used for anything was it was used a bunch as a staging location and an office location during the tornado in '98. It was used in 2003 for what was it?
The public input meeting from DeKalb County.
Right, DeKalb County had some input meetings for, I think it was for the parks, they were trying to convince us to vote yes for the parks referendum, the 1-penny sales tax. So that's the last time the building was used. And in reality, it was used as a theater almost 20 years ago. I think it was 96 or 97. So now we're looking at, and as we heard earlier, when the Parks Master Plan was created, we put various things that people people wanted in various tiers, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. The restoration of the theater fell into tier 3, the bottom tier, as something that people really wanted to have done. All of a sudden, in the last couple of months, it's become a hot issue. The problem is that, again, we do $25 million a year in revenue, and we're looking at probably a $5 million investment to save that building. And so people say, oh, that's not that much money. Well, write me a check then. But $5 million to restore the building for a theater that's in the wrong place. You know, people go to the theater and they want some nightlife. They want to be able to go out for dinner, get a drink, either before or after they go to the theater. This theater is in Brookline Park. There's not enough parking for it. There's not enough nightlife anywhere nearby. It's in a residential area. So the question is, are we willing to spend $5 million on having a theater in Dunwoody? That's the first question. Is that important enough for us to spend that much money? Because I think we could probably tear this thing down and build a theater in conjunction with our new city hall that we're planning for in the next 5 years. We could probably, for $5 million, build a theater that would really fit our needs in the right part of town as part of our city hall build down. So again, I'm one of 7 votes on city council, but that's my opinion. That $5 million to save a theater that's in the wrong part of town is an absolute waste of money, and it's a long way to spend money in the city of Dunwoody.
Any questions on the board member here? Right.
I understand where you're coming from. The Brooklyn Conservancy would just like to have a little time. We would like to cooperate with the city council and answer some of the questions that they wanted to know from us, like where the income stream would come from to rent it and do it. It is a fantastic theater. And it's been a little bit more recently, I think, than you think, that we've had things there. Yes, it will take about $5 million. That is the estimate. But if we would like some time to just give it a chance and to raise the money for it, not for the city. And also, I have a question. Why do we think that we need the administration building there with it? We're so different than Sandy Springs. I don't see any correlation between our administration building and the theater.
I think you misunderstood. What I'm saying is that if we were going to spend $5 million, I think we could build a theater comparable to what we have there in the right part of town. And if we're going to build something, you want to have it in an area where there's nightlife and activity. And I think if the city is going to be buying property and building a city hall in the next 4, 5, 6 years, why not think about, if the citizens really want to spend $5 million on a theater, why not think about doing it in the right part of town and just and turning Brooklyn Park back into a real active park and not just a theater district. So what I'm thinking is that we can certainly look at what it's going to cost to fix, and we can look at who would use it. But I think, in my mind, at the end of the day, that's the last place in the entire city of Dunwoody we would build a theater if we were starting from zero. And so it's going to cost $5 million to fix it. I say, let's spend $5 million and put it where it belongs. Because that's a lot of money to spend. And $5 million in Brookline Park, in the absolute worst place in the city to have a theater, why not spend that money in somewhere else in the city where people would actually be able to go out for dinner, have a drink, before or after, and enjoy themselves?
An additional question right here.
I'm wondering where the right part of town might be.
The right part of town would be Dunwoody Village. It would be Perimeter. It would be Georgetown.
Oh, no.
So, we have another question right over here.
Well, my question is simply, there isn't any parking at Brookline to accommodate a theater.
Agreed.
People are not going to come and park on the side of the road at night when most people go to the theater.
I agree.
Another question right here.
Most of your activity for a theater is at another time of the other activities during the park. You'll be there at night. There's the drop-off areas. I asked you, where are you going to put another theater? You had a dream of Dunwoody Village. You really think Regency is going to roll over and give up their cash cow to Dunwoody to build a theater in the middle there and kick out all the tenants? It's not going to happen in our lifetime. You've got a real asset here that you can develop. It's a gift. You use what you have. And you cannot build a theater for $5 million, maybe $15 million. And then, are you going to share it with the courts and whoever else is over at the City Hall? How are you going to work in a theater with the City Hall? You're probably thinking of an auditorium, but a theater needs to have room for costumes and sets. They need to build these things. They can't leave them while on Wednesday so you can work. They're completely separate entities, even though you're picturing seats in an auditorium. But you're talking at least $15 million to build another theater somewhere. You can't. You've already got steel and bricks and probably very good bones. We'll find out. Thank you.
I don't think I heard a question, but okay.
To back up that, it is a wonderful building there. It's a wonderful clinic.
Bob, can you give the microphone?
The acoustics are wonderful in that building. And just in recent years, we used it every time we had a Memorial Day. We would have the orchestra in there, the band. The place was packed with military people, and wonderful. As far as going out to dinner and all, we are subscribers to the state store. And couples would go out and we go to each other's homes, have dinner before the theater, we go on to the theater. Then we don't go on out after the theater because most of everything is shut by the time we get out to the theater. So it's a wonderful place. And we have places to stroll before and after, picnic before the picnic on the ground before you go to the theater. A lot of people do that in Overbrook, and they have their wonderful Shakespearean theater. We would picnic on the ground and we would go on into the theater. So there are a lot of possibilities here. It's very good. It's a fabulous time.
Okay. I really want to be conscious of time here. If we want to end on the subject, I think it's okay, but we aren't going to get to the other subjects. We have about 3 minutes left.
Okay, just going to add. Okay.
I just wanted to remind everyone too, it's just not a theater, it has space for convention use, which could be used for writing sessions, business, documents, it has other options, just not the theater.
Okay.
There was one additional question on this topic, and then we'll move along. Sorry.
Actually, it's not a question. It's just to correct some information. You are correct, Barbara, that when we had Calmall bands there, it was wonderful for the music. However, I happen to have been in charge of 2 or 3 of those events, and the acoustics is terrible when it comes to the speakers. We had difficulty having our speakers being heard, and the system did not work. But for music, as loud as the Calmall band was, that part is correct.
Well, we have to have an acquisition come with whatever building, and they can direct that.
Okay. Well, just one final thought on that. The city has hired a consulting firm to go in and figure out what the building is going to cost to repair. Because right now we throw numbers around, we're not sure. But I can tell you, in my mind, it's $5 million. I don't see the city willing to do that. If a group could come forward and find that kind of money, we would be more than willing to entertain that. But I don't see the city, I don't think it's fair to make the citizens pay that kind of money to repair a theater in the wrong part of town.
It is right at 8 o'clock, and I would suggest that we try and wrap up and be respectful of DPC, but I think we can hit the Dunwoody Trail and future connectivity. Well, the last two, we had some talks. We have folks here who might be able to stay for a couple minutes to talk about Herschel Park. But gentlemen, if you want to give a final thoughts with that.
Yeah, let's talk. I'm looking at the whole thing. Herschel Park. We've got the information up here. Basically, we just approved the contract to build the final piece of the trail that connects Herschel Park and the Georgetown area into Brookhaven, Brook Run Trail. So we'll have that. That will be started soon. We just signed the contract today. How long do you think it'll take? It'll be done by the end of the year. It'll be, as you say, I think it's about a total of 10 acres, is it, Brent?
That's a 5-acre park up front, about 2.5 acres free.
Okay. So if you saw the pictures that were up here, the larger piece is about 5 acres. The piece on the right is about 2.5 acres. And all of that will be connected into the Brook Run Trail. It's going to have just big lawns, pickleball courts, which I know a lot of you young people are interested in, and then also basketball courts, and it'll be great. Yes, sir. Have a question?
When the trail goes through the wetlands there, will that be a raised boardwalk, or will that be 12 feet from the street?
It'll be a combination of poured concrete and then a boardwalk where we have to go over the wetlands. But I think it's about 50-50 split of boardwalk and concrete. Anybody else? That's going to be a nice park in that part of town. It'll be very popular.
Well, again, I just want to thank you both for talking this evening and opening up to those citizens, and thank you all for attending and asking your questions. But we are always open and happy to receive any questions you might have, so please hit up city manager or one of the department heads, and all our information is online on the website. And we're looking to have a couple more of these kind of events within each district, so please stay tuned for other times to participate. Thank you all for coming tonight.